Welcome, my beautiful nerd gang. Welcome to what is going to be a very short and impromptu nerd out session with your favorite nerd, Lee. So, today we're talking about the Odyssey because everybody has been asking me about the Odyssey. Of course, I watched it because, of course, and it's quite ironic. I was thinking about it just now that the last video that I did, the last yap session that I had with you guys, was me going on and on and on about one of my favorite stories, the Odyssey. And now I'm going to be reviewing the movie, the Odyssey. So I feel like a lot of people want me to trash the movie, to say how royally disappointed I am, how they failed to meet my expectations, how it sucked, how it is this and that, how the casting was so bad. And you know what? I'm going to disappoint you because no, I was not disappointed. I was not. Okay, I have things I loved. I have things I did not love as much as I would have expected to. But overall, I would actually give this a solid 8. They ate. They ate. It was not as bad as everybody made it out to be. Like, I was actually getting annoyed, like, because of how people kept telling me, "Oh, did you see everybody's trashing it? It's so bad. People are angry. People say the casting was so bad." I tried to stay as far away from any spoilers, as far away from any behind the scenes, as far away from any interviews about this movie, because I wanted to go in like a blank slate. I wanted to really be like, see it for the first time for myself with no expectations. And someone who has read the book, who has loved the book, who has read all different versions of the Odyssey, someone who loves this story so much, someone who is obsessed with the musical, someone who's obsessed with the characters, every single one of the characters. I went in there and I just said, just let me just see it. Let me just see it. Let me just see what they have to offer. And they did not disappoint, not as badly as everybody says that they did. The Odyssey was not bad. The Odyssey was brilliant. The filming, the directing, the the visuals were wonderful. I think a lot of people expected it to be like an action filled, and which it was, but people expected it to be like a first person viewing of what is happening, of his journey. People wanted to see him from the moment that they left Troy. We wanted to see it in real time as he goes from island to island, as he faces all these different things, which that's not how Christopher Nolan wanted to tell the story according to his I just want to highlight that it is an adaptation, right? This movie is being adapted. This book is being adapted by the specific person who's going to do it according to how he has interpreted it, how he sees it. These are not, it's not, I know to a lot of people it is history, and I don't want to take that away from them, but it is also to a lot of people a work of fiction, a work of fantasy, a work of mythos, right? So for a lot of us, when we are reading this, we don't have a real person to assign the role to. We just use our imagination. And if this was a movie that was done by me according to how, when I was reading the books, how I saw the characters, how I envisioned his journey, how I envisioned the masters, it would look 100% different, and it would not be wrong or right. It's my how I see it, how I imagine it. Now, for a lot of people, like my husband said, he felt as if it was a little bit slow paced. For me, as someone who read the books, it was the perfect pace. And then it was also being told, not necessarily something that we're seeing happening in first person, but we were seeing what was happening to Telemachus in first person, and then we were seeing Odysseus trying to remember, and so we were seeing fragments of what happened. And I was a bit unhappy that it didn't go in the order that I wanted it to go. He didn't go to the different islands that I wanted him that he went to. He didn't have the different conversations that I felt like were so important for him to have. But it was fragmentations. It was all fragmented. It was him trying to remember. And at this point, when we meet Odysseus, he's already broken. He's already broken. And I feel like for most people that are like just seeing me yap and don't really have a lot of the context, you can go watch the other 2 videos that I did where I went into detail about his journey. But this was more so a homecoming. This was more so us seeing what has happened. Where are we right now? It's been 20 years. And we're just seeing fragmentations. So it was not going to be as perfect as everybody wanted it to be. As someone who loves the books, I don't think you are gonna get what you 100% expect, but it's great. I loved it. I actually really loved it. I think I would give it a 10 if it wasn't for the fact that some of the conversations I needed those conversations to happen didn't happen. Like, for example, with the Cyclops, for me, I felt like it was so crucial for him to have that conversation with the Cyclops. And just talking about the Cyclops, I think one thing that they did that I didn't like was the fact that the monsters, the Cyclops, the giants, they just seemed like monsters, like brainless monsters who just did what they did for the sake of doing it. Like, the Cyclops conversation was so important because it was a direct response to why the Cyclops was not following Zeus's law. It was so important because the whole movie was centered against Zeus's law of you should treat strangers with hospitality because you never know if one of those strangers is a god. But the Cyclops was supposed to say to Odysseus that I don't care about Zeus's clue. I care about it, but not when it comes to a being that is so much lesser than me. And I feel like that's so powerful because even with humanity, we often see that people are hospitable, or what is that what I'm looking for. People are more welcoming, more kind to people that they deem to be of an equal footing. But when they go to areas where the people are lesser than them, they will not be as kind or as welcoming, or and I'm going somewhere with this. I feel like that conversation needed to happen. The first thing. The second thing, we needed to hear the nobody. Like, that is the got you moment. That's where Odysseus effed up the most. That's where he effed up the most. Like, he was supposed to have that conversation and he was supposed to, like, I don't know, like, guys, that's where for me they've dropped the ball a little bit because I wanted that conversation. I wanted Odysseus. For those of you with no context, in the books or in the mythology, Odysseus and the Cyclops have a conversation, and Odysseus introduces himself as nobody to the Cyclops. So when they hurt the Cyclops and stab his eye, he screams out, and other Cyclops in the island come to his help, and they ask him, "Who's hurting you?" And he screams, "Nobody is hurting me." And they don't come in and help him. And then as Odysseus is leaving, right, he then says to the Cyclops, when people ask you what happened to the eye, tell them that Odysseus, the king of Ithaca, took your eye. And then the Cyclops was then supposed to then pray to his dad, Poseidon, and say, "Odysseus, king of Ithaca, took my eye." And then Poseidon was going to come after him. And I guess they kind of showed us that, but what happened instead in the movie, as they were leaving, Odysseus, like hit him with an arrow, because before that the Cyclops didn't know that Odysseus and the man had tricked him and left, and by hitting him with an arrow, he then showed that I got you, it's me. And then how did the Cyclops know who attacked him for him to pray to his dad and say this person attacked him? I guess we can say gods are all-knowing, but the Cyclops is not all-knowing. He wouldn't have known. Maybe Poseidon would have, but then they did show it that, the man get back to the sheep, and they say to the ship and the boat, and they say they heard him call out to Poseidon, and then Odysseus basically says, "Who gives a fuck about the gods?" For me, that's where I really needed the conversation to happen. I also needed the conversation to happen with the giants, because there's supposed to be a conversation with the giants again, and the giants are supposed to show that, listen, we know about the law of Zeus, we follow the law of Zeus, but only with creatures that are at our level. You humans are below us, so we're not gonna follow the law of Zeus with you. I feel like, again, instead they just showed the giants as these creatures who didn't have a conversation with them. They just started shooting them. Some people also feel like the visuals for the giants were a bit lacking. I didn't mind. I would have liked to see them have a conversation, to actually see them as, I feel like they were shown as monsters, that, and they are, but they're really not. It's subjective, right? But I wanted them to be seen as these beings that are rational to an extent, which in the mythology they are. And then the other thing, when we talk about all of these visuals, again, we didn't really see the Cyclops. We didn't really hear the song of the Cyclops, which a lot of people didn't like as well. I was a bit disappointed there, because I love mermaids. I love mermaids. I live for mermaids. I'm such a nut job that I believe that mermaids exist. Don't quote me, but I love them. I love mermaids, and I would have loved to see them. We didn't really get to see them, but that's okay. That's okay. And then my second disappointment. Well, not disappointment. I actually loved it. I think I loved and I hated it. When they got to Cersei's island, and you guys know I adore Cersei. Cersei is mother. Cersei is queen. Cersei is, you guys know I love Cersei, and if you want to know why I love Cersei as much as I know, I've done a video on Cersei and why Cersei is such a feminist symbol. I love Cersei. Like, I absolutely love, okay, she does things that are questionable, but I love Cersei. So when we get to Cersei's island, we don't see the nymphs. I guess they alluded to the nymphs by showing us the crow, but I would have loved to see the nymphs or whatever. I loved the visuals into Cersei's island, the lions, the bears. As someone who loves Cersei's story and has read Cersei's story so many times and envisions I love, like, one of my little fantasy is to, be on Cersei's island and whatnot. Turn men into pigs. I would love to do that. What I absolutely love, as that scene was happening, right? I was enjoying myself. I loved that scene so much. I was literally giggling so bad. Like, I was giddy. My husband on the other side was absolutely disgusted. He didn't understand. He's like, why is she doing this? This is disgusting. And I was like, she's turning them into their true self. They are, and I love the one line that they give when Cersei turns the men back from pigs to men. She says, go back into your disguises. I loved that. I love that. That was brilliance. That was absolute brilliance, because it goes to show that the pigs is their true state. And let's be honest, for people like, oh, they did nothing, that's because in the movie it doesn't show that Cersei can see into who these people are. They were gonna eat her food and they were gonna violate her. That's what they were gonna do, and they were gonna take, because these are the same men that went, like, just destroying people's homes, taking things from people, raping, doing all of this. So Cersei knew who they were, and that's why she punished them and turned them into their true self. But for someone with no context, just watching it, what they were like, oh, what is she doing? I did love the molding parts. Oh, my husband was disgusted. I was like giddy. I loved it. I loved it. My one complaint, as someone who's an absolute fan of Cersei, Cersei is not supposed to age. Well, I like the actor. I did think it was quite fitting, But I just like Cersei is the son of Helios. So she's not supposed to age per se, right? So that was a little bit off, but other than that, everything was perfect. I do feel like we didn't see Cersei be as powerful as she is, which I would have loved to see. But yeah, for those that don't know the story of Cersei, please check it out. Cersei and Odysseus actually have a kid together from some versions of the mythology, which we're not going to talk about that. And also, they stay on Cyprus Island for about a year or so before they go to Hades. So that wasn't shown in the movie, but that's what happens. And then they go to Hades, and then what everybody hates, what everybody is going off and off about, is the first that there is no Achilles. People that are saying, oh, they used a trans woman for Achilles, or a trans man for Achilles. Oh my God, boo hoo, boo hoo. There was no Achilles. There was no Achilles. Shut up. I know that in the underworld, he's supposed to actually have a conversation with Achilles. Instead, he didn't. He had a conversation with Sino, and that's why everybody's so angry, that therefore it means that they turned Achilles into a trans man. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Then the second complaint that everybody has is when it comes to Helen of Troy. People don't like that Lupita was cast as Helen. Let me tell you. I Because in my imagination, Lupita is not necessarily my Helen of Troy. If it was up to me, and this is not me saying Lupita is not beautiful, whatever, it's just how I've always envisioned it. And again, it's very subjective, guys. For me, I would have actually have Charlize Theron and Lupita exchange roles. Hear me out. I love Calypso. I adore Calypso. I live for Calypso. And I have a very, 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 very vivid picture of Calypso in my head. And this is very biased. But for me, Calypso is a black woman. I'm sorry, I know a lot of people say no. But for me, when I think Calypso, I think like, Calypso is supposed to have dreadlocks or something. Calypso is, so I would have had them swap. And I wouldn't have necessarily put Lupita to play two queens, because Helen of Troy, or Helen, is supposed to be so distinctly beautiful that now that we made her play two twins, that takes away from the fact that she's supposed to be like this standalone beauty. But in terms of her being the face that launched 1,000 ships, I don't mind. She's gorgeous. I would have had them switch simply because I wanted Lupita to be my Calypso. I wanted her to be my Calypso. Put some dreadlocks on her. Make her my Calypso. I still feel like when it comes to the relationship between Odysseus and Calypso, I feel like I didn't like the way that they did it in the movie. I prefer how they did it in Epic, the musical. Sorry, not sorry. That's my favorite. Oh my God. The song, I'm not sorry for loving you. Like, that's a perfect telling of Calypso's relationship with Odysseus. And also, Calypso is not the one wanting Odysseus to go. She's not helping him. She wants him to stay. She's saying, you're not going nowhere, but I have to let you go because the gods have told me to let you go. And then on the last thing, when it comes to the gods, a lot of people wanted to see the gods. We did see Athena. And again, we saw Athena as part of Odysseus' imagination, delusions, whatever that you call it. A lot of people wanted to see Zeus throwing thunder and everything. I think I love the way that they did it, that we didn't see the gods. But a lot of it became a thing where we know the hand of God is there, but we don't really see God. And I think that's what Christopher Nolan was going for, and I absolutely adore it. So overall, guys, I did not hate the movie. I loved it. I enjoyed it so much. Will I go and rewatch it? Probably. Was it better than Troy? Yes. For me, okay. Guys, Brad Pitt. But other than that, I think I liked it. I would give it an 8, honestly. There were a lot of things I didn't like, but the things that I did love. And so that's it from me. I love you guys. Bye.